The talk of the NFL universe this afternoon going into this evening is Davante Adams. He has officially requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. and coming up, Howie Vision. Could the Birds trade for wide receiver Davante Adams following that trade request? Right off the top, I want to hear from you, and this is today's poll question. I always love when you're a part of the show and you let your voices be heard, so do that right now. If you were in the shoes of Howie Roseman, you've seen how this Eagles offense has struggled the last 3 weeks, would you make a move for Davante Adams? Type T for trade or type P for pass. As for how this situation came about, there's a lot to run through right now on the national side, on the local side. Antonio Pierce liking an Instagram photo, talking about a Davante Adams trade. He goes on Kay Adams' show. He says, I don't really know what that was all about. And then hours later, he asked to be dealt. So Ian Rappaport on the national front, taking to X to say this, Raider star wide receiver Davante Adams informed the team that he preferred to be traded. There is nothing imminent, but a situation to watch for sure. From Adam Schefter, ESPN sources, Raiders have informed other teams that they would consider trading wide receiver Davante Adams for a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation. A second-round pick for one of the top wide receivers in the game, that is not a bad move or bad value for a team that is looking for a wide receiver. As it pertains to Philadelphia, you have A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. Jahan Dotson's done nothing, but on this offense, you also have Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert. So that goes to show you that Philadelphia doesn't really need Davante Adams, but they do have a lot of draft compensation. And could Howie Roseman say, F it, we're going all in. Our offense has struggled. Our quarterback is struggling. We made a big investment in him, $255 million, $50 million per year. We need to get him back on track, and Davante Adams could help him do that. Adding fuel to the fire of this entire situation, and this is part of the reason why bad businesses stay and remain as bad businesses, and bad sports organizations stay and remain as bad sports organizations. There's always drama. They never get out of their own way. They always find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. And can you imagine what the conversation would be like on this show or on Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio, other content creators on television, if Nick Sirianni did what Antonio Pierce did, where he was on Instagram as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and he liked the photo talking about Davante Adams trade speculation. And you don't believe me? Here's the photo right here. Sports Illustrated. After a report from Michael Fabiano, don't be surprised if Davante Adams has already played his last snap with the Raiders. You take a look at the likes. Liked by Antonio Pierce. So Davante Adams made his weekly appearance on the Kay Adams show, Up in Adams. Hey, Kay. And he said this about AP liking that trade post, and this was earlier today. I haven't heard from Antonio Pierce. I haven't talked to him. I don't really know what that was about. Obviously, social media is a beast, so it's a lot of people out there that saw it and wondering what's going on and people reaching out. Honestly, it's hard to comment on. It's one of those situations where I just keep my head down and keep doing my thing and let the chips fall where they may. There's been no communication with anybody from the team since that became something. There's always some sort of trade drama, but at the end of the day, 1-7 doesn't create any of it. Now, 1-7 doesn't create any of it. Is he just blaming this trade speculation on Antonio Pierce? Because as we know, mere hours after Adams went on the Kay Adams show and said that, Adams squared, he asked to be dealt by the Las Vegas Raiders. So with the purpose of today's show here on Eagles Now, the Eagles enter the equation. Would this make sense? Would Howie Roseman entertain it? Jalen Hurts is struggling. Jahan Dotson has been a nothing burger for this Eagles team. Would another weapon help this struggling Eagles offense? You trade for Adams, you're going into the bye. He has some time to get acclimated with this Eagles offense. You give up a second rounder, and you try to put your chips in the middle of the table to try to win that second Lombardi trophy. As for the compensation here, Josina Anderson just spoke to a league source indicating an NFC team would have interest in Davante Adams, but not currently for a second-round pick. Sounds like restructuring his contract would be needed in this particular case, too. We'll keep adding to the prospect list. Are the Eagles that NFC team? I doubt it. When I think about teams in the NFC, I think the Washington Commanders are a team you have to look out for. They have a quarterback on his rookie deal in Jaden Daniels. Davante Adams, Terry McLaurin. That would be a really good 1-2 wide receiver combo. Cliff Kingsbury's been in his bag. Daniels is completing more than 82% of his passes, and that is now a smart front office for Washington, led by former Niners assistant general manager Adam Peters, and Dan Quinn's the head coach. Like, that's a team that probably senses an opportunity to compete in the NFC East this year. I think through the first month, the Commanders have been the best team in the NFC East, and they might say, Jaden Daniels is the real deal. Davante Adams can truly help us this year. We haven't been able to compete on the big stage with the head honchos for a long time. Let's make a move for Davante Adams. And in speaking of that contract restructure, I do want to hit on that because money will be key here, and Albert Breer said the same. Adams is making $17.5 million this year in 2024. Now, he's also under contract in 2025 and in 2026 for a total of $72.5 million, $36.25 million each year. None of it, though, is guaranteed. So a trading team would likely want to rework those terms. And Davante Adams is an older player. He turns 32 in December. He hasn't shown any signs of slowing down as of right now with bad quarterback play over the last couple of years with the Raiders. He has still put up really big numbers and very good production. He's still an elite wide receiver in this game. Route running, footwork, diverse route tree. But if you acquire Davante Adams, you don't want that base salary of $35.6. You don't want that cap hit of $44.1 the next 2 years. So what you could do, you give up that second rounder for Davante Adams. Maybe you tell the Raiders, look, we have to inherit this contract. Let's bump it down to a third. Either way, you trade him some draft compensation, and you send that out to the Raiders, and you restructure that deal after this year. Davante Adams has clearly been frustrated with the situation with the Raiders. Bad quarterback play, bad offense, bad scheme. Luke Getsy's is fraud. Is AP in over his skis? There's no sign of hope for the Raiders. Clearly, Adams misses his winning ways, which was an annual thing when he was playing with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Would he be willing to take less, restructure that deal, and then he could be a pretty affordable asset for the acquiring team, in this case, the Philadelphia Eagles? What the Eagles could do if they were to make this move, and we know that Howie Roseman is never scared, and we know that he's very aggressive. You have A.J. Brown on the outside, Davante Adams on the other side, outside, as another boundary and X wide receiver. And then you put Devontae Smith in the slot. He can win a lot out of the slot. And we saw in the first two games, the Eagles were using him a lot there as a motion man. Out of the slot, he was winning, and he was off to a really good start before he suffered that concussion against New Orleans Saints a couple of weeks ago. And what's interesting about this Eagles offense, this is more so a point that I just wanted to make. After that first game, we were talking pre-snap motion, Eagles' highest motion rate going all the way back to like 2020, 2021. We saw the Kellen Moore effect in full effect. But in the 3 games since, this has looked like the Nick Sirianni offense. I don't know if Nick Sirianni has budged in and he wants more of his fingerprints on this Eagles offense, but this does not and has not looked, the last 3 games, like a Kellen Moore offensive system, because the Eagles are still bottom half in the league in motion rate, whereas in week 1, we saw plenty of motion. Where is it gone? And that was the best Eagles offensive performance of the season thus far. And so far in these 4 games, you look at the Eagles' offensive numbers, they're only averaging 21.5 points per game. They have been without A.J. Brown for the last 3, but that's 15th in the NFL. They are moving the ball, 7th in yards at 365.5, but 14th in yards per play at 5.5. Third down conversion rate, middle of the pack in the NFL, 13th. Their red zone percentage, they're only scoring a touchdown when they get inside the 20, inside that red area, at a 47% clip. That's 22nd in the NFL. But a big reason why the Eagles are 2-2 and they're off to this 500 start, they've been an average team. And you look at the lack of offensive production coincided with the bad defensive production. Defensively, Philadelphia giving up 24 points per game. It's 23rd. They're 29th in yards allowed at 365.8. They're giving up 6 yards per play. That is third worst in the NFL. Third down conversion rate, 17th, 36.9%. They have been able to buckle down in the red zone, which is good. They're top 10 in that area at 43.7%. But this Eagles team definitely needs some changes, whether that be personnel changes, a trade, or trades. And that's why we're talking about this Davante Adams trade this afternoon going into tonight here on Eagles Now. So we revisit this poll question here. If you were Howie Roseman, would you trade for Davante Adams? It would be one of those moves where people take to social media, Howie did it again. It would be insane to talk about. And this Eagles offense would be electrifying to watch. T for trade, P for pass. Let me know once more. And as always, thank you so much for your support of Eagles Now. We're approaching 90,000 subscribers on our path to 100,000 subscribers. And we'll be back tomorrow on Eagles Now live with some regular videos being put up on the channel as well.